Welcome to Mount Meditations, a weekly reflection made available to you by campus ministry at Mount St. Mary's University in Los Angeles. Each week of the Easter season, a member of the Mount community will choose a meaningful scripture passage and share a reflection on it. This week, Suzanne Williams, the Dean of the Mount's Weekend and Evening College, draws upon the Psalm of the fourth Sunday of Easter, Psalm 23, for her reflections.
The Lord is my shepherd. There is nothing I lack. In green pastures he makes me lie down. To still waters he leads me. He restores my soul. He guides me along right paths for the sake of his name. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff comfort me. You set a table before me in front of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Indeed, goodness and mercy will pursue me all the days of my life. I will dwell in the house of the Lord for endless days.
Hi, I'm Suzanne Williams, and it is my great joy and privilege to serve as Dean of the Weekend, Evening, and Online College here at Mount St. Mary's University. When Gail Gresser asked me to share this week's meditation, I told her I was both honored and a little frightened. I agreed to do it by saying I would feel the fear and do it anyway. Fear is a common emotion for us all these days, isn't it? Fear of this virus that has changed our lives, fear of what the future holds, and fear of missing out, FOMO, or more aptly, maybe the sadness of the presence of our missing out. After her mother's death, the poet Edna St. Vincent Millay said, "The presence of that absence is everywhere." That discomfort we're all feeling right now is grief. I imagine you have experienced the same type of Zoom exhaustion that we all have. We can cope with being away from someone or with being in their presence, but it is the absolute presence of their absence that is wearing us out. Seeing our classmates, colleagues, and family only by Zoom Brady Bunch style is a constant reminder of the presence of their absence. It is a visual representation of what we're missing out on. The list of key life events we're missing out on right now seems endless. This week is finals week, marking the end of the semester and academic year. We should be together right now in person, administering or taking exams, doing presentations in person together. Even in our academic lives, we've missed out on so much. Being face-to-face in class, study groups, our annual academic symposium, end-of-year celebrations, pinning ceremonies, recitals, graduation dinners and award ceremonies, retirement and milestone recognitions, and of course, commencement. In our families, we've missed being able to do the things we normally do when we celebrate a birth or grieve the death of a loved one. Our religious holidays, weddings, births, visitations, wakes, sitting Shiva, memorial services, baptisms, graduations, all the rituals that we rely on to mark special occasions, those liminal spaces and thresholds in our lives, all postponed or observed in a different way. You, me, everyone we know has experienced one or more of these milestone events when we would usually gather together and bring food, laugh, dance, cry, sing, being canceled, postponed, or observed very differently. These missed events represent a lot of individual and collective grief we're carrying right now. The sadness of missing out, the presence of that absence is everywhere, and that can be exhausting. We are creatures of the calendar, and missing out on these events is disorienting. In higher education, we adhere to the academic calendar for what to expect when. And now every day just seems like Wednesday. Nothing distinguishes this time from the next. Whether we label and acknowledge it as such, we're a society, a university of grieving people right now, and grief work is exhausting. What many of us try to do normally is to skip over the hard part and rush for the silver lining, the ways in which we'll all be grateful, appreciative, kind, and loving when we get back to the other side of our time safer at home, when we get back to normal. I heard Mayor Garcetti say recently that he hoped we would not return to normal. I agree with that. We can be better than what we used to think of as normal, but it takes time apart now. Time to grieve our individual and collective losses and changes. History is filled with the aberrant behaviors that are the direct result of our resisting to acknowledge and grieve our losses. Before we skip to the silver lining, celebrate new life and the resurrection, we must first grieve the losses, big and small. The way through is the way through. We must walk through the valley of the shadow of whatever our loss is. As the saying goes, you got to feel it to heal it. I myself have cried more in the last 6 weeks than I think I have in years. So, what do I do that gives me hope and helps me get to sleep at night? Here's my list in no particular order of some sayings and scripture verses that have helped me. No feeling is final. This too shall pass. Be gentle with yourself. The plaque next to my front door says, bidden or not bidden, God is present. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not yet seen. Hebrews 11:1. The sign by our back door that a artist friend made for me that simply says hope. Proverbs 3:5-6. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart and lean not to thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge God, and God will direct thy paths. John 14:1. Let not your heart be troubled. You trust God, trust also in me. The reading from this week's lectionary, Psalm 23, the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Hope in the God of our understanding. That is the hope of this fourth Sunday in Easter. As the psalmist says, weeping endures for a night, but joy comes in the morning. It is not lost on me that Jesus roamed in the wilderness for 45 days, the exact amount of time that many of us have been quarantined. There will be a silver lining, and we will get to another side of this for a better new normal. But for now, I encourage you to feel your feelings as they arise without judgment. Allow yourself the time to grieve, to be a human being rather than a human doing. In the days ahead, may each inhalation bring you peace and each exhalation dispel your fears. Thank you.